Hey everyone, this is Scholar P and I want to welcome you to the Scholarhood. Today we have our distinguished guest, one of the great hosts of The Verse, Miss Lesley. Lesley, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I am doing well. So for those of you all who might not know, Lesley is a native of Chicago, and of course with the surviving R. Kelly stuff going on, we want to sort of take her experiences and her perspective and use it to inform the conversations happening around R. Kelly and a lot of his problematic nature. And the people who have been being complicit around his problematic nature for literally decades.
So many.
Right. So, Lesley, if I may, what was one of the first things, or not one of the first things, but what are some of the things from the documentary that were new to you, that really surprised you, if anything?
How young some of these girls were when he actually met them. I think the documentary mentioned that he met Aaliyah when she was 12 or 13. The girl from the video he met when she was 12, which just shows exactly how much of a predator he really is.
Right.
That was astounding to me, as well as the juror who mentioned that he didn't like the way the women looked or spoke.
Yeah, I got that.
And he was like, yeah, so whatever they said, I just counted as invalid. And I'm like, how did he make it onto the jury in the first place?
Right.
How did the prosecution not ask, do you not like black people? That's all that was.
Right.
That wasn't him not liking their hair. It was him not liking them because they're black women from the south side of Chicago or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, those things just blew me away.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people didn't pay attention to that part.
Right.
In terms of what I was seeing on social media. Because it was like this way in which black women are not believed or validated when they're talking about their experiences of assault or harassment and whatnot. And I feel like there's so many issues with the criminal justice system in terms of juror selection in and of itself. And people don't understand how important that process is.
Yeah, it determines your fate.
Exactly.
You're a defendant.
Exactly. And so I'm just thinking about R. Kelly's team in camp being like, oh, okay, I like this guy. I can see that he's gonna, support our story.
So it's great for the defense.
Right. So that's very interesting to sort of know. I guess another question I have too is, how do you feel about the guys who came on that show or who were on that documentary and were talking all these things about R. Kelly, and then they also had some stuff come out about them? So Torre recently had some claims coming against him in terms of sexual harassment by some of his former co-workers. What do you think about that type of situation? And how do you feel like we feel safe in a world where that is the norm?
Right. That's the scary part. Feeling safe in a world where that's the norm. It's almost like this narrative of we teach women how not to be raped instead of teaching men how not to rape. It's very similar, and you're right, that is terrifying. But as for the men in the documentary, I was really appalled by people who were so complicit, like we mentioned earlier, and were so open in sharing their information, particularly, I think it was his assistant or his bodyguard who mentioned, when he married Aaliyah, he could tell Aaliyah wanted him to take her away or something, and he just looked at her and forged the papers. And it's just that money, man. It's all it is. It's really, that's all it is. But money can really make people just forget their morals completely, which is what that was. As far as people who have their own demons, I think that there's room for growth. And that's based on, I'm a big fan of the Joe Budden podcast.
Yeah, me too. Okay,
So did you listen to his most recent?
Definitely.
Yeah, the one about where he discussed his domestic abuse allegations. And he explained everything that happened. And he also just said, I understand people feeling I don't have a place in this conversation because I've had these allegations against me. One, they weren't true. But two, I've just grown so much as a human being, but I still take responsibility for those actions. And I feel like people who do that can contribute to the conversation just as well, as long as they continue to educate others on how not to make those same mistakes too. Right.
I think that as men sometimes we are very complicit in these systems, and I think that sometimes a lot of men get uncomfortable talking about this because on some level we've done something that's problematic, right? And so it doesn't necessarily have to be rape or domestic violence, but maybe you've done something that hurt someone emotionally, right? Or maybe you've done something that was a mental warp for somebody, right? And for you to acknowledge that R. Kelly did this stuff, it's you having to look in the mirror and say, oh man, I might not do the things that he does, but I've done things that are problematic as well.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's letting down that barrier.
Right. It's what role did I play and letting him get away with that, or even like society think that that's okay.
Right.
You know, because all this silence, it adds up.
Yeah, no, it does add up. It does add up, right? So, in terms of what's going on in Chicago, what was the sentiment once this stuff was airing? What were you hearing from friends and family members at home?
Everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of my friends from college, especially like my black female friends from college, they were like, this is not new. Like, we knew this. There was actually a high school that they mentioned in the documentary, Kenwood High School in Hyde Park, and across the street is a McDonald's. And they've always, sort of, as long as I lived in Chicago, they've always called it the R. Kelly McDonald's. Right. Because R. Kelly was known to show up there with like puppies and stuff, because girls love puppies, to come and talk to high school girls. And a lot of the girls were saying, like, you know, like they knew people who went to R. Kelly parties in high school. One girl, I don't know her, but she was a friend of a friend, posted her own experience with him, and how the interactions were very similar to what the girls in the documentary said. But she had the wherewithal to be like, I'm getting out of here. But she was like, that very easily could have been me. So this has been going on for decades. I lived in the Chicago area. Up until now, I lived there for 21 years. And the story's been going on since then. Right,
and so when we get into that part of the story too, like you talk about this idea of wherewithal to like lead that some women had. What would you tell those, I guess, R. Kelly defenders who would say something like, well, you know, no woman should be getting abused, and if she's getting abused, she should just leave. You can't blame R. Kelly, you stayed. Like, because there's some misconceptions about that. And I know in the documentary, they were talking about how people who are in abusive situations, sometimes it takes them like 7 to 10 times before like they have a successful leave and escape from their abuser. So can you talk a little bit about the misconceptions around that and how we like shift all this blame on people, on the survivors of these abusive experiences?
Yeah. Well, first of all, in terms of R. Kelly, like, these weren't women for the most part. They were girls. So they're not even developed, like, their brains aren't even fully developed to make those adult decisions. One, but their age aside, just with abuse, like, you are broken down to believe that this person is your everything. So if you leave, there's nothing out there for you. Like, even at the end of the documentary, when I think the girl Dominique, her mother, came and found her, and my roommate and I were talking. We watched it together, and we're like, she probably thought her mom didn't care about her anymore. She was probably broken down to believe that she was worthless, because that's what abusers do. And so I think it really starts with like, these women don't have a lot of self-love, self-respect, and that's probably not for any fault of their own. That's society, because Black women, we are always told we're not pretty enough or whatever, or we're not, you know, we're more resilient to pain, which is why, like, even Black women in our disparate treatment in healthcare. Like, we see it all the time. So yeah, I mean, it's more, people, I feel like, should try and be more empathetic versus blaming the victim, because no one's choosing to be abused.
And I think too, some things that I've heard are things like, oh well, people gotta be better parents, you know what I'm saying? And when you talk about like women gotta leave when the situation is abusive immediately, and the parents gotta be better. My thing is, we should live in a world where if I'm R. Kelly and I see that there's a young woman who maybe she does have bad parents, maybe she doesn't love herself, we should live in a world where it's like, I see that and I actually help her and help her love herself, as opposed to trying to flirt with her or like seduce her or mentally abuse her and manipulate her. Like it's always R. Kelly's fault when we go back to it, because we shouldn't live in a world where there are predators. Period, right? Even if people are coming from broken places, right? Where there isn't as many instances of love, right? And I think that sometimes we really consumed and almost obsessed with putting that blame on survivors, right? I have another question with you in terms of things going on in Chicago. I think there was a clip around R. Kelly being in this club, and some women were, and I think it was in Chicago, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to misquote some of these women, but they were like, oh my gosh, take me hostage, oh my gosh. So how much of that is still like circulating in places like Chicago and places like all around the country, in your opinion? Like this mentality of like, it's still R. Kelly.
It's not my age group, that's for sure. I've curated a great group of friends and social circle that like, I don't see that mess on my timeline. But I feel like it's the more middle-aged fans who just like are not willing to let go of R. Kelly, period. Because I actually had a discussion with some friends in Chicago yesterday about how like, it's so hard to let R. Kelly music go because there's a song for everything.
Right.
Like, and especially for Chicago, like, we grew up on R. Kelly, but I'm like, Black girls are more important.
Right.
And Step in the Name of Love.
Right.
But yeah, they're just not willing to let it go. And they've also been raised in the society where girls are considered fast. Instead of asking, like, why are these girls seeking out older men? Like, what are they missing at home that they feel that they need validation from somebody who's twice their age and they're 15? They just think about the sexual aspect of it all, and they are quick to judge the girls. And that's how society was up until a point. And I feel like they're kind of stuck in those ways. But it's still it's disturbingly pervasive. I just luckily am fortunate enough to not have to actually encounter it.
Right. Right. And I also think that once again we're talking about these women and like sort of trying to ask ourselves why are they attracted to these older men. Mm-hmm. But like once again, if I'm an older guy and I know like, oh, you're young, even if you're like heavily attracted and like you're quote unquote like trying to come at me strong, I should be like, no,
you're the adult.
Right, like I'm good, like chill out, you know what I'm saying? And you should be the responsible person in that. And so
exactly.
it's so crazy the way society looks at it, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And also criminal.
Right. Also, right. On top
that part as well.
Yeah. No, it's wild.
But I mean, I feel like, young girls are typically easy to manipulate. And if you're an older man seeking young women, that's essentially what you're looking for. Particularly when the age gap is that big.
Right.
Now, if it's like 80 versus 60, then maybe something different. But 15 versus 30, you're looking for somebody that you can manipulate and control easily.
And then I also think about, going back to that, when we think about younger women, and not necessarily teenagers, but I think about club culture a lot, and I think about DJs, and I think about how R. Kelly music continues to circulate, because I think like even outside of radio, one of the main ways that R. Kelly is circulating in my mind, from what I've experienced, is the clubs and people still being willing to like listen to R. Kelly, and if you hear him, you're still willing to dance to R. Kelly. What type of responsibility do you feel like local DJs and people in these party scenes and these quote-unquote sexual scenes have to mute R. Kelly and like sort of change the culture around that?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about that. I actually mentioned on the verse last week how my friend got married over the summer. My friends got married and I was having a great time. They were playing like the jams and they played Stuff They Love and I sat down immediately. And I was like, what are you doing? You're having so much fun. I was like, I don't do R. Kelly. Like, this is their moment. This is their wedding, so I'm not going to cause a scene, but I'm just doing my small part. So I think, like doing that over and over again makes a difference. I know we're kind of spreading that at business school, too.
Right.
Like, people love Ignition for some reason. I don't even like the song, but some people love the remix Ignition, and I will always, nope, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And people will ask me why, and I'll say, because he rapes young black girls.
Right.
And exactly, like
okay,
maybe a party killer, but it's true.
Right.
So I mean, I think people who are frequenting these venues should do that, as well as the DJs should pull the plug too, because I understand the concept of separating the artists from the music, but when the music is about sexual abuse, then you can't separate the two. Because I mean, the documentary had The Hiding in Plain Sight, right? And they talked about how like all the lyrics, you can just, when you apply the lyrics to a 14-year-old girl, it's gross. He has a song called It Seems Like You're Ready.
Right.
Where the hook is, it seems like you're ready to go all the way. You're not talking to a grown woman like that.
Yeah.
And age is but a number, that's not a song for a grown woman. And you can just tell that the predatory behavior was in the music. And when you dance to that, you're supporting it.
Right.
So I feel like both DJs and the consumers both have responsibility to just cut the plug. But I get it, consumer culture, and R. Kelly makes them a lot of money.
Right.
But I mean, if the radio stops playing and people start going to the tours, he will eventually get dropped.
Right.
And hopefully end up in jail.
Right, hopefully. And I think it's weird because I think as a community, black people get so scared because it's like, oh, we put this person on a pedestal and now, they're in trouble with the law, the government's trying to like disenfranchise us. But my thing is, I think it's insulting to our legacy when you look at it like that, because it's like, R. Kelly is not the only legend in music, right? He's not the only black legend in music. Right? And he's not even the only contemporary black legend in music. So like when you think about people like Stevie Wonder, when you think about people like John Legend, like and so many other R&B people who have gave us the soundtracks to our lives. And it's like it's okay if I don't have to hear R. Kelly ever again.
Yeah.
Like, even just from a very superficial level. Like, there are other people, like, black people have done a lot.
Yeah.
You've been very successful with this type of stuff.
Absolutely.
Someone else can inform your soundtrack.
Exactly. And it's like, I will miss it. I will miss so many of his, I miss them all the time. And I'll get them stuck in my head and be like, okay, I can't play it.
Right. Right, yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's up here, all right.
Right.
But like I said, once you reframe it into what it's really about, then it's like, ugh.
Right.
You don't even want to listen to it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think it's very important because, like, as people have kids and stuff like that, if my son hears something about R. Kelly and a song is playing on the radio and I turn it off, he might be like, yo, Dad, why did you do that? And I'm like, because he terrorizes and is a predator towards black women in particular, mm-hmm. and little black girls in particular. Right. And now whether it's my son, my daughter, whatever, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, right. That's really important. And now it's going to be in their subconscious, like, yep. I can't do that anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And when they see multiple people doing that, they know, oh, we don't even attempt to play with this type of thing, because and I think that's how you set a value and a standard in the community, and it's just so disheartening that, like, folks aren't doing that, like, especially. Like, and I've heard people in barbershops, like, as soon as the documentary came out, mm-hmm. people in barbershops were still playing R. Kelly, and, like, I was having a conversation with family members about it, and it's interesting because some of those people don't have, like, daughters, and I don't even want to get into this thing of, like, oh, you have to have a daughter or any woman in your life because it's about human beings and, right. you know, respecting human beings. But to also see people like Marvin Sapp, I know there was some controversy with him mm-hmm. about, like, he kept R. Kelly on one of his songs he was featured on, and he's like, yeah, you know, I don't want to judge him, and it's just like, really? But my guy, it's like, I know for a fact you have daughters that you love, and, like, that sends a signal. Like, yeah, he terrorizes people who look like me, but Pops is gonna play him so he can get some type of capital gain or recognition that Marvin Sapp doesn't even need as a gospel legend. Exactly. So it really boggles my mind.
I didn't know about that. That's so disheartening.
Yeah, and it's just like, yo, Marv, like forget the fact that you have daughters. Like, forget any of that. It's like, you know what this person does, mm-hmm. and you don't even need the money. Right. You don't need the recognition because you're already a legend. Mm-hmm. So it's like, for you to condone this, right? Because, like, even if you say you love God loves justice, and God doesn't love people being harmed, and mm-hmm. He doesn't love black little girls being harmed, because God loves little black girls too. Right. So I'm just, it's a lot.
You saw that Gaga, like, got rid of her song that she had with R.
Yes, right.
Which is, like, great of her to do. I mean, a little late, but
right,
yeah. It was like, what, 2-3 years ago, and she was like, I wasn't aware, and I was in a dark place in my life, and had dealt with my own trauma, which I'm not denying, but I'm also like, you knew this information then. Yeah. Everyone knew. I feel like it's partially a PR move, but it's still the right move, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it is interesting because there are artists that are, like, in these gray areas. Mm-hmm. Like, I know Omarion was like, okay, so we're not gonna play any of his songs after this tour, but we are gonna, like, give you one more. You know right? It's just like, okay, but it's like sometimes you do gotta sort of take what you can get, I guess, right? But also never be satisfied and keep pushing that envelope, right? And so I guess one of the last questions that I want to ask is, we keep going around this theme of, like, protecting young black women, protecting black women in general, standing up for defending black women.